In the forested regions of America, a giant panda hasn't encountered another panda for over 2 years and showed no signs of distress. This should be impossible. Mammals of this size need social interaction to survive. Loneliness leads to stress, a weakened immune system, and depression. Dr. Rebecca Johnson from the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute describes this as a rare survival strategy in mammals. Elephants suffer without their herds. Wolves can't hunt alone. But the panda? In absolute silence, feeding on bamboo, it survives perfectly well on its own, without needing any other living creature. Tonight, we'll discover how the panda became nature's only gentle, solitary animal, and why it chooses a completely solitary life. If this mysterious solitary existence fascinates you as much as it does me, like and subscribe. Write in the comments where you're watching from, what time it is there, and what surprises you most about the giant panda. You're the reason we keep exploring nature's secrets. Thank you for being here. First, let's note that researchers don't fully agree on the findings we'll be discussing. Some information is not definitive. Now let's take a closer look at how the panda manages to sustain this solitary life. The forest is silent. Bamboo stalks stretch side by side. Light reaches the ground through the leaves. The air is cool, the ground damp. In this setting, a panda stands among the bamboo. We just learned that this panda survived for over 2 years without seeing another of its kind. No stress, no signs of loneliness, no distress calls echoing through the bamboo. Just silence and survival. This situation points to a question scientists have been thinking about for a long time. How does such a large animal manage to live alone? Think about your own life for a moment. Imagine not talking to another person for 2 years, not communicating with anyone. For most of us, this kind of loneliness would be unbearable. We need connection, conversation, the presence of others. Our mental health depends on it. But the giant panda has a different lifestyle, weighing approximately 100 kilograms, 220 pounds. Giant pandas live in bamboo forests, alone. There are factors that determine whether an animal will live solitary or have a social lifestyle. Body size, diet, habitat, threats from predators. All these conditions come together in the panda. We can see this in the mountain forests. A panda moves between dense bamboo clusters, hasn't encountered another panda for months, hasn't searched for a mate. The panda stops, lifts its head, smells the air. There's nothing. As it continues walking, it strips and breaks bamboo stalks. This pattern repeats day after day, week after week. We might call this loneliness, but the panda experiences it as normal. At 3,000 meters altitude, no less, about 10,000 feet. Scientists studying panda behavior documented an interesting situation. Individual pandas claim territories covering approximately 2 to 4 square miles. Within these territories, they spend 11 months of the year completely alone. When researchers tracked these animals with GPS collars, the data showed something unexpected. Pandas' territories significantly overlap with other pandas' territories. Yet direct encounters almost never happen. Each panda continues its solitary life. This is not a coincidence. Each panda can know where the others are without ever seeing them. They do this through indirect communication that hasn't been fully figured out yet. Thanks to this system, pandas sharing the same forest continue their lives without encountering each other for long periods. Now let's look at how they do this in these wide and overlapping territories. Most of their communication happens through scent marking throughout their territories and ranges. The scents are left like this. First, a panda approaches a tree trunk. It turns, backs up toward the bark, and spreads a small amount of scent on the surface. They rub these scents on tree trunks, rocks, or the ground. Other pandas can distinguish these scents from one another and tell which belongs to which panda. Then they stay away from that area. The scents act like invisible fences. The panda continues the marking behavior by moving systematically through its territory. A new mark every few hundred meters. Fresh scent left at every important point. They even strengthen the marks by peeling bark or leaving scratches. How efficient this system is becomes clearer when two pandas' timing almost overlaps. Field researchers documented situations where one panda marks a tree and moves on, and less than an hour later, a second panda approaches the same tree. The second panda stops, sniffs carefully, and then changes direction. No conflict happens, no aggressive display. The second panda simply chooses a different route. This arrangement allows pandas to stay away from each other even though they share the same area. Multiple pandas share the same forest, the same feeding grounds, even the same sleeping spots, but they use them at different times. Everything is carefully coordinated through communication established by scent. The question that kept researchers thinking for years was this: why would an animal come to live like this? Most mammals of similar size to pandas live in groups. Bears, the pandas' closest relatives, have various social structures, but very few are as strictly solitary as pandas. Perhaps because of their closed-off communication and strange temperament, giant pandas prefer the freedom of being alone. Why pandas adopted such a lifestyle emerged when scientists examined the panda's diet more closely. Bamboo, which makes up 99% of what pandas eat, is abundant, but its nutritional value is low. For a single panda to survive, it needs to consume 26 to 40 pounds of bamboo per day, about 12 to 18 kilograms. Now imagine multiple pandas sharing the same feeding area. If multiple pandas lived in the same territory, the bamboo stock would quickly become insufficient. In such a situation, pandas would have to go farther to find food, which would lead them to expend more energy. A bamboo grove that could feed one panda for 3 days could be completely depleted in a single day if 3 pandas fed together. This creates a problem with only one solution: keeping distance. So solitary living allows giant pandas to find enough food within their territories, minimize the risk of starvation, and survive. So this isn't just a preference, it's also a necessity. But the feeding explanation alone doesn't tell the whole story. There's another factor that shapes pandas' solitude: the absence of predators. Millions of years ago, pandas shared the same habitat with saber-toothed cats and giant tigers. These predators hunted pandas, and pandas probably formed groups for protection, like many prey animals do today. But these ancient predators went extinct. When hunting pressure disappeared, the natural advantage of living in groups also vanished for pandas. Today, adult pandas have almost no natural enemies. They're too large, too powerful, and their habitat is too remote for most predators. This freedom from hunters allows pandas to live alone without the security disadvantages that solitary living would normally bring. We see the consequences of this lifestyle in every aspect of panda behavior. The only times they communicate with other pandas are during infancy and mating seasons. When pandas rarely encounter each other outside mating season, their interactions are brief and dull. They might smell each other, circle cautiously, then move away. There's no prolonged interaction, no social bonds are formed. Each returns to their own solitary routine. Their physical adaptations also reflect this lifestyle. Unlike more social bears, pandas have limited facial expressions. Their ears don't move to express emotions. They don't have features like the fur ridges or puffy neck fur that other bears use in aggressive displays. Okay, we understand that pandas maintain a solitary lifestyle. We also understand why. So what do pandas do during this time they spend alone, without social interactions, without drama, without complex relationships? How do they fill their days? Chapter 2. A panda wakes in the early morning mist. It stretches, yawns, and reaches for the nearest bamboo stalk. For the next few hours, it sits in a single spot, strips leaves methodically, and chews on stalks. When the bamboo within reach runs out, it moves a few steps to a fresh patch and keeps eating. Eventually, its eyes grow heavy. It curls into a comfortable position and sleeps. 2 hours later, it wakes and starts eating again. This cycle repeats throughout day and night. Eat, sleep, eat, sleep. No need to hunt, no complex social interactions to manage, no territory to actively defend. Just this simple rhythm that goes on for hours, for days. These repeated behaviors make up 98% of the panda's day. The remaining 2% is spent wandering. But here's what makes this routine interesting. Most large mammals need variety in their daily activities. They patrol their territories, search for food in different places, engage in social behaviors, maintain complex routines. The panda has eliminated almost all of this complexity. It's simplified existence to its most basic elements. We can observe this pattern through data collected by researchers watching pandas both in the wild and in captivity. To maintain enough energy, pandas spend 10 to 15 hours a day eating, not foraging and eating, not hunting and eating, just sitting and eating. This feeding is strange too, because they consume 20-30 kilograms of food daily, mostly bamboo, then leaves and stalks. Considering they weigh 100 kilograms, this amount still isn't excessive. Think about your own daily eating schedule for a moment. Throughout the day, you probably spend maybe 1 or 2 hours eating, breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe a snack. The panda spends 8 times that digesting bamboo. If you scaled your eating time like a panda, you'd be chewing from 7 in the morning until 11 at night, with only short breaks. But the panda doesn't experience this as boring. Its entire physiology has adapted to this lifestyle. The powerful jaw muscles that give pandas their round faces exist specifically for this purpose. What about their teeth? Don't they get tired? They're made to chew bamboo for hours. The panda's digestive system resembles predators rather than herbivores, and much of what they eat passes through undigested. To compensate for inefficient digestion, the panda consumes this much bamboo to get the necessary nutrients. Scientists studying panda metabolism discovered something remarkable. When they measured pandas' daily energy expenditure, the numbers came out much lower than expected. A panda's metabolic rate is about 35% of what's predicted for a mammal of its size. This means pandas burn energy extremely slowly, like a car running in low gear to save fuel. This slow metabolism isn't a disadvantage, it's a survival adaptation. Bamboo provides very few calories relative to its volume. By slowing down almost all bodily processes, pandas can survive on this low-nutrient diet. Even their organs have become smaller over time to reduce energy needs. The brain, liver, and kidneys are proportionally smaller compared to other bears. After meals, they usually sleep for 2 to 3 hours. Their total sleep time is about 9 to 10 hours per day. These aren't long, uninterrupted sleep periods like you experience at night. Instead, pandas take short naps throughout the 24-hour cycle, just like sloths. We talked about them in our previous journeys. Researchers watching pandas with zoo cameras noticed something unexpected about these sleep patterns. It was thought that pandas mostly slept at night, but the data showed this wasn't the case. Pandas wake and sleep many times throughout both day and night. They don't have a strong preference for darkness like we do. Observations show that pandas' daily schedules are very regular for each panda, regardless of season. They're usually active between 07:30 and 12 . These are their most active periods of the day, but even during this time they rest intermittently. After the active period, they rest in short bursts until 16 buzz. This situation shows a pattern where pandas are neither completely diurnal nor completely nocturnal. They exist in a state between the two. When a panda sleeps, it doesn't search for special nests or prepare comfortable beds. It stops wherever it is, maybe leans against a tree or finds a flat rock and closes its eyes. After hours of repetitive chewing, sleep comes easily. Field researchers observed that even during these rest periods, pandas continue digesting food. The abundance of bamboo passing through their digestive systems means digestion almost never stops. Scientists have even used this biological fact as a research tool. By counting the number of droppings in a resting area, they can estimate how long a panda stayed there. This endless cycle of eating and sleeping leads pandas to live an extremely simple life. The panda has eliminated almost everything except the most basic survival activities. There's no prolonged play behavior in adults, no complex tool use, just eating, sleeping, and occasionally moving between bamboo patches. But this raises a question that bothered researchers for years. How can an animal function with such a simplified lifestyle? What we're seeing isn't laziness or inefficiency. This is precision engineering. The panda has optimized its entire existence around a single goal: surviving on the lowest quality food source available in its habitat. Pandas have developed a short digestive system over time. This causes them to obtain limited energy from the food they eat. That's why some energy-intensive organs like the brain, liver, and kidneys are smaller compared to other mammals. Every aspect of panda physiology supports this routine. Thick fur minimizes energy needed for temperature regulation by reducing heat loss. Their pigeon-toed walk distributes load on joint and reduces strain. Even the panda's temperament reflects this energy-saving strategy. Aggression requires calories, social interaction demands energy. By staying calm and solitary, pandas avoid spending their precious fuel. Yet this finely tuned system operates on a knife's edge. The panda must eat enough bamboo each day to meet minimum energy requirements. If bamboo becomes scarce, the panda gets sick, and if it can't eat for a few days, this entire delicate balance collapses. There's almost no margin for error. In this tight schedule, sleep isn't just a rest period, It's a critical part of survival. Pandas sleeping 10 hours a day don't waste this time. Energy conservation continues even during sleep, and pandas have turned this into an art. Leaning against tree branches, curled around rocks, or nestled between bamboo clusters, pandas are masters of finding comfort anywhere. Chapter 3. We've seen how pandas divide their days between eating and sleeping in predictable cycles. But when those brief rest periods arrive, something remarkable happens. The panda doesn't search for an ideal sleeping spot or prepare an elaborate bed. It simply stops wherever it happens to be. Picture this scene. A panda finishes chewing through a pile of bamboo stalks. Its jaw muscles relax after hours of constant grinding. The animal glances around briefly, then leans backward against the nearest tree trunk. Within minutes, its eyes close, its breathing slows. Sleep arrives without ceremony or preparation. You might assume such casual sleeping arrangements would result in awkward positions or restless naps. But when we observe pandas closely, we discover they've mastered something most of us struggle with: the ability to fall deeply asleep anywhere, in almost any position, at any time of day. Scientists studying panda sleep behavior have documented this flexibility across hundreds of hours of observation. They expected to find preferred sleeping locations or specific environmental conditions that pandas sought out. Instead, the data revealed something unexpected. Pandas demonstrate virtually no preference for sleeping surfaces or locations. They sleep on bare ground, on rocks draped across tree branches 20 feet above the forest floor, or curled up in shallow caves. This raises an intriguing question. How does an animal weighing over 200 pounds achieve such complete relaxation in positions that would leave most creatures sore and stiff? The answer begins with understanding panda anatomy. Their thick fur provides natural cushioning against hard surfaces. Each hair is actually hollow, creating an insulating layer that traps air. This design serves multiple purposes. It keeps pandas warm in mountain winters, helps regulate body temperature in summer, and creates a built-in mattress wherever they rest. When a panda lies down on bare rock or hard-packed earth, that fur compresses slightly, distributing its body weight across a larger surface area. The effect resembles lying on a foam pad. Combined with their substantial layer of body fat, pandas essentially carry their own bedding with them at all times. But the sleeping positions themselves reveal even more about panda physiology and behavior. Field researchers have catalogued dozens of distinct resting postures. The most common position mirrors what you might see in a human taking an afternoon nap. The panda lies flat on its back, all four paws extended upward, completely vulnerable and exposed. This position appears in roughly 1 out of every 6 observed sleep sessions. Think about when you lie on your back to sleep. You typically do this in safe places, your bedroom, perhaps a quiet park on a sunny day. We instinctively avoid this vulnerable position in unfamiliar or potentially dangerous locations. Yet pandas adopt this posture freely in the wild, suggesting a profound sense of security in their environment. The reason for this confidence becomes clear when we consider panda predators. Adult pandas have virtually none. Their size, strength, and powerful jaws make them formidable enough that most carnivores avoid confrontation. This freedom from predation pressure allows pandas to sleep without the constant vigilance required by prey animals. Another frequent position involves the panda curling into a ball, much like a house cat. The animal tucks its head between its front paws, draws its legs in tight, and forms an almost perfect sphere of black and white fur. This posture serves practical purposes beyond comfort. By minimizing exposed surface area, the curled position reduces heat loss during cold mountain nights. Pandas living at higher elevations display this curled, sleeping position more frequently during winter months. Those in warmer, lower altitude regions use it less often. The behavioral flexibility demonstrates how pandas adjust even their sleeping postures to environmental conditions. But perhaps the most impressive sleeping behavior involves trees. Despite weighing between 220 and 250 pounds, adult pandas regularly sleep on tree branches. Not sturdy lower limbs near the ground, but often 20 or 30 feet up, balanced on branches that seem impossibly thin for such heavy animals. Here's what makes this behavior particularly remarkable. When you fall asleep, your muscles gradually relax. This relaxation is why your head might loll to one side if you doze sitting up, or why you might roll over unconsciously during the night. For a panda sleeping on a narrow branch, this muscle relaxation should theoretically result in falling. Yet pandas almost never fall from trees during sleep. Their strong limbs maintain enough residual tension to keep them secure, even in deep sleep. Field observations spanning multiple years have documented only a handful of instances where pandas lost their grip and tumbled down. Even in those rare cases, the thick fur and body fat cushioned their fall, preventing injury. The ability to sleep safely in trees provides pandas with several advantages. Elevated sleeping spots offer cooler temperatures on hot summer days, as air circulation improves with height. They also provide vantage points where pandas can rest while remaining aware of their surroundings through scent and sound, even while sleeping. Scientists measuring panda brain activity during tree naps discovered these pandas maintain lighter sleep states compared to ground sleeping. Their brains show patterns suggesting partial alertness, even while the animals appear completely relaxed. This adaptive sleep allows pandas to rest while monitoring for any unusual disturbances. The variety of sleeping positions extends beyond just location. Pandas also sleep propped against tree trunks in a seated position, resembling humans dozing in a chair. They sprawl face down with limbs extended in all directions. They lie on their sides with legs tucked or stretched out. They drape themselves over fallen logs. They even sleep standing up occasionally, though this position rarely lasts more than a few minutes before the panda settles into something more stable. Each position offers different benefits. Sleeping on the belly allows maximum contact with cool ground during summer heat. Side sleeping facilitates easier breathing and digestion. The seated position requires less energy expenditure to return to alertness when the nap ends. What ties all these positions together is their brevity. Remember, pandas don't sleep in 8-hour blocks like we do. Their sleep comes in short bursts of 2 to 4 hours. This fragmented pattern means pandas cycle through multiple sleeping positions throughout each day. A morning nap might find the panda curled in a ball under a bamboo thicket. The afternoon rest could happen sprawled on its back atop a sun-warmed boulder. Evening sleep might occur draped across a branch. This constant variation prevents the stiffness or soreness that might result from maintaining one position too long. By changing positions frequently across multiple sleep sessions, pandas avoid the pressure points and circulation issues that would plague animals sleeping in awkward positions for extended periods. The sleep locations themselves show similar variety. Pandas exhibit no territorial attachment to specific sleeping spots. They don't return to the same tree or clearing night after night. Instead, they sleep wherever they finish eating. If a panda feeds in a bamboo grove on the eastern slope one day, it sleeps there. If the next day's foraging takes it to the western ridge, it sleeps there instead. This nomadic sleeping pattern reflects the broader panda lifestyle we've been exploring. Everything about panda behavior optimizes for energy conservation and simplicity. Returning to a distant sleeping den would waste energy. Constructing an elaborate nest would consume time better spent eating. The solution? Sleep anywhere, in any position, whenever tiredness arrives. But this brings us to a subtle problem lurking beneath all this apparent ease and comfort. Pandas can sleep anywhere because they've eliminated most sources of stress and danger from their lives. They have no predators, no competitors for food, no complex social hierarchies to navigate. Their entire world has been simplified to bamboo and rest. Chapter 4. We've watched pandas sleep in remarkable positions, adapting their bodies to any surface. But sleep represents only half of their daily existence. The other half belongs entirely to one activity, eating bamboo. A panda wakes from its afternoon nap beneath a cluster of bamboo stalks. It doesn't stretch or look around. Instead, it immediately reaches for the nearest bamboo shoot. Its paws grasp the green stalk with surprising dexterity. Then the methodical process begins. Strip the outer layer, bite off a section, chew, swallow, reach for another stalk. The pattern continues without variation or pause. This scene repeats itself roughly 12 to 16 hours every single day. If we calculate the time investment, a panda spends somewhere between half and 2/3 of each day simply sitting and eating. For context, imagine spending 10 to 14 hours of your waking day just chewing food. You'd eat breakfast for 3 hours, lunch for 4 hours, dinner for another 4 hours. The scale feels almost absurd, but here's what makes this behavior even more fascinating. Despite all those hours of constant eating, pandas extract remarkably little nutrition from their food. Scientists studying panda digestion discovered something that initially seemed impossible. When they measured how much bamboo pandas consumed versus how much nutrition they absorbed, the numbers told a surprising story. A typical panda eats between 26 and 84 pounds of bamboo daily. That's roughly the weight of a small child to a large dog consumed every 24 hours. Yet when researchers analyzed what pandas actually digest and absorb from this massive intake, they found the efficiency sites at approximately 17%. Think about that ratio for a moment. For every 100 pounds of bamboo a panda eats, it only extracts nutrition from 17 pounds. The remaining 83 pounds pass through essentially unused. We might assume this represents some biological deficiency or flaw. But when we examine panda anatomy more closely, we discover the explanation lies in a fundamental mismatch between their digestive system and their diet. Pandas possess the intestinal tract of a carnivore. Their digestive system is short and simple, designed to process meat and other easily digested proteins. They lack the elaborate multi-chambered stomachs that herbivores use to ferment and break down plant material. They don't have the specialized bacteria that help true plant eaters extract nutrients from cellulose and fiber. Yet somehow, pandas survive almost entirely on bamboo, a food source that contains some of the toughest plant fibers found in nature. The bamboo plant creates structural support through dense cellulose and lignin. These compounds give bamboo its remarkable strength and flexibility. They also make bamboo exceptionally difficult to digest, even for animals with herbivore digestive systems. So how do pandas manage? The answer involves eating in quantities that would overwhelm most animals. Rather than efficiently extracting maximum nutrition from small amounts of food, pandas simply consume enormous volumes. They compensate for poor digestion through sheer quantity. But this creates its own challenges. Eating such large amounts requires time. A panda cannot rush through its meals. Each bamboo stalk must be carefully stripped of its tough outer sheath. The panda's specialized pseudo-thumb, that elongated wrist bone we mentioned earlier, allows it to grasp and manipulate bamboo with precision. The animal peels away the fibrous exterior to reach the slightly more digestible inner pulp. Then comes the chewing. Pandas possess massive jaw muscles that give their faces that distinctive round appearance. These muscles power flat, wide molars designed specifically for grinding fibrous plant material. When a panda chews bamboo, it executes 6 or 7 chewing motions per mouthful on average. Multiply that by the thousands of bamboo sections consumed daily, and you begin to understand the sheer mechanical effort involved. The process flows with a gentle rhythm: reach, strip, bite, chew, swallow. Reach, strip, bite, chew, swallow. No urgency, no variation, just this steady, meditative repetition for hours on end. Watching a panda eat induces a strange calm in human observers. The animal's complete focus on this single task, the unhurried pace, the absence of distraction, it all creates an atmosphere of deep contentment. But pandas don't eat bamboo randomly. They demonstrate clear preferences based on which part of the bamboo plant they consume. In spring, when tender new shoots emerge from the ground, pandas focus almost exclusively on these shoots. Bamboo shoots contain higher protein levels and lower fiber content compared to other plant parts. They're easier to digest and provide better nutrition per bite. During summer and autumn, pandas shift to bamboo leaves. These remain available year-round and offer moderate nutrition with slightly less fiber than the woody stems. Then in winter, when fresh growth becomes scarce, pandas turn to bamboo stems and branches. These contain the highest fiber levels and the lowest nutritional value, making them the least desirable option. Yet pandas consume them when better alternatives disappear. This seasonal rotation demonstrates something important about panda feeding behavior. Despite appearing to mindlessly munch bamboo, pandas actually make calculated choices about what they eat. They select the most nutritious bamboo parts available at any given time. They show preferences for certain bamboo species over others. They avoid bamboo that tastes bitter or contains higher concentrations of defensive compounds. The digestive process itself moves remarkably quickly through the panda's system. Once swallowed, bamboo travels through the intestinal tract in just 5 to 13 hours. For comparison, food in a cow's digestive system can remain for several days. The rapid transit time means pandas cannot rely on prolonged fermentation to break down plant fibers. Instead, they must extract what they can quickly, then expel the waste and continue eating. This leads to another distinctive panda behavior: frequent defecation. A panda eliminates waste roughly 40 times per day. That averages out to once every 25 minutes during waking hours. The waste itself remains surprisingly fibrous and intact. If you examine panda droppings, you'd see clearly identifiable bamboo fragments that pass through virtually unchanged. This constant cycle of eating and eliminating creates what scientists call a throughput system. Rather than storing food and slowly extracting maximum nutrition, pandas push large volumes through quickly, absorbing what they can along the way. It's less efficient per calorie, but it works when food exists in abundance, and your only competition comes from sharing habitat with other pandas. The energy equation remains perpetually tight. Bamboo provides minimal calories relative to its bulk. A panda needs those 12 to 16 hours of daily eating just to meet basic metabolic requirements. There's almost no surplus energy for additional activities. This explains why we see pandas sleeping so much between meals. Every calorie counts. Every unnecessary movement represents wasted energy. Think about your own relationship with food for a moment. You probably spend maybe 2 hours total each day preparing and eating meals. The rest of your time goes to work, hobbies, social activities, countless other pursuits. For pandas, eating isn't just a necessity, it's the primary occupation. Everything else in their lives revolves around this central activity, but this raises a troubling question. What happens when the bamboo itself changes? We know pandas select different plant parts seasonally. We know they show preferences for certain species, but bamboo follows its own biological cycles that pandas cannot control. Some bamboo species flower synchronously. All plants in a region bloom, produce seeds, and die simultaneously. This flowering cycle occurs every 60 to 120 years for different bamboo species. When mass flowering happens, it can wipe out a panda's entire food supply virtually overnight. The pandas must either find alternative bamboo species or face starvation. And here we reach the edge of the panda's remarkable simplicity. Their entire lifestyle depends on bamboo abundance. When that abundance fails, the careful balance collapses. How do pandas survive these periodic bamboo crashes? What happens when the plants they've spent millennia adapting to suddenly disappear? Chapter 5. We've watched pandas eat for hours without pause. We've seen them sleep in positions that would leave most animals uncomfortable. Now we turn our attention upward, to the branches where pandas sometimes spend their quietest moments. A young panda sits at the base of a tall tree. It tilts its head back, looking up through the canopy. Sunlight filters down through the leaves in gentle patterns. The panda places one paw on the rough bark, then another. Slowly, it begins to climb. The movement happens without urgency. Paw over paw, the panda ascends. Its claws grip the bark naturally. The thick trunk provides solid support. Within a few minutes, the panda reaches a comfortable fork in the branches, about 15 feet above the forest floor. It settles there, draping its body across two sturdy limbs. The tree sways gently in the breeze. The panda closes its eyes. This scene plays out countless times across panda habitats. Trees serve as more than just landmarks in the forest. For pandas, they offer something essential, a place of refuge and rest that the ground cannot always provide. Think about the last time you climbed something as a child. perhaps a tree in your backyard or a jungle gym at a playground. There was something peaceful about being elevated, about seeing the world from a different perspective. Pandas seem to experience this same quiet satisfaction when they rest in trees. The climbing ability itself develops early. Cubs as young as 6 months old begin exploring vertical spaces. At first, they tackle small saplings close to the ground. Their mother watches nearby eating bamboo, showing no concern as her cub wobbles and experiments with balance. The cub wraps its front paws around the narrow trunk. Its hind legs push upward. Sometimes the cub slides back down. Sometimes it makes progress. Either way, the practice continues day after day. By the time a panda reaches 1 year old, it can climb substantial trees with relative ease. Not all pandas show equal skill. Some cubs take to climbing naturally, scaling 20 or 30 feet without hesitation. Others prefer to stay closer to the ground, venturing only a few feet up before descending. Both approaches work fine. There's no single correct way to be a panda. The physical act of climbing reveals interesting adaptations. Pandas possess strong, curved claws that don't retract like a cat's claws. These claws stay permanently extended, ready to dig into bark whenever needed. When a panda presses its paw against a tree trunk, those claws sink in slightly, creating anchor points. But here's something researchers discovered that surprised them. Pandas don't climb the way most bears do. They've developed a unique technique found in almost no other species. As the panda climbs, it presses its head firmly against the trunk. The head acts like a fifth point of contact. By using this extra support, the panda keeps its center of gravity stable, reducing the risk of falling. Imagine trying to climb a pole using only your arms and legs. Now imagine being allowed to press your forehead against the pole for additional support. That extra contact point would make the climb significantly easier. Pandas discovered this technique naturally without anyone teaching them. The ones who climb best all use their heads this way. Once a panda reaches a comfortable height, it often stops climbing. The goal isn't to reach the top. The goal is simply to find a good resting spot, a sturdy branch that supports the panda's weight, a place where the sun feels warm but not too hot, a location that offers a slight breeze on humid summer days. The panda arranges itself carefully. Sometimes it drapes lengthwise along a thick horizontal branch, front and back legs dangling on either side. Other times it wedges itself into the fork where two branches meet, creating a natural cradle. The panda might curl into a ball much like it would on the ground, or it might stretch out fully, enjoying the elevation. Sleep comes easily in trees. The gentle swaying motion seems to soothe pandas. The elevation removes them from the activity and insects of the forest floor. The dappled sunlight through leaves creates pleasant patterns. Everything about the experience promotes rest. We might wonder how a 200-pound animal sleeps on tree branches without falling. The answer lies partly in panda anatomy. Even while sleeping, pandas maintain enough muscle tension to stay secure. Their claws remain embedded in the bark. Their bodies naturally mold to the shape of the branches beneath them. Deep sleep doesn't mean complete muscle relaxation for tree-resting pandas. The practical benefits of tree climbing extend beyond just comfort. In the wild, young pandas face potential threats from other animals. While adult pandas have few natural concerns, Cubs remain vulnerable during their first year. A mother panda cannot stay with her cub every moment. She must forage for the enormous quantities of bamboo her body requires. During these times, the cub needs a safe place to wait. Trees provide this safety. Most predators that might pose a threat to young pandas remain ground-dwelling. By climbing even 10 or 15 feet up, a cub removes itself from immediate danger. The mother panda teaches her offspring this valuable skill through demonstration and encouragement. She doesn't force the learning, she simply climbs trees herself, and the cub naturally follows. As pandas age, their climbing frequency typically decreases. Adult pandas spend most of their time on the ground, where bamboo grows most abundantly. The energy required to climb doesn't always justify the benefits for a full-grown panda focused primarily on eating, but the ability remains. Adult pandas still climb when the mood strikes them, or when conditions make tree resting particularly appealing. Hot summer days encourage climbing. The temperature at ground level in a dense bamboo forest can become uncomfortable. But 15 or 20 feet up, where air circulation improves, the temperature drops several degrees. A panda seeking relief from heat will climb to these cooler zones and rest there through the hottest part of the afternoon. Trees also offer pandas a different perspective on their territory. From an elevated position, a panda can scan the surrounding forest, not for threats necessarily, but simply to observe. The view from above shows bamboo density, nearby water sources, potential feeding areas. This information helps pandas make decisions about where to move next. The choice to climb or not climb depends entirely on the individual panda's preference in that moment. Some pandas climb almost daily. Others go weeks without ascending higher than a few feet. Neither approach indicates anything about the panda's health or capability. It simply reflects personality and circumstance. When a panda does decide to descend from a tree, the process happens even more slowly than the climb up. The panda backs down carefully, reaching with its hind legs to find secure footholds. Sometimes it slides a bit, sometimes it miscalculates and tumbles the last few feet, landing with a soft thump on the forest floor. These small falls cause no injury. The panda's thick fur and layer of fat cushion the impact. The animal simply stands, shakes itself slightly, and continues with its day. Trees remain constant companions throughout a panda's life, saplings for cubs to practice on, mature trees for adults seeking occasional respite, ancient trees with wide, accommodating branches that multiple generations have rested in over decades. The relationship between pandas and trees flows naturally without complexity or drama. On a quiet afternoon in the mountains of central China, a panda sleeps in a tree. The wind moves through the branches with a soft, rhythmic sound. Leaves rustle gently. Somewhere far below, a stream trickles over stones. The panda breathes slowly, deeply, completely at ease in its elevated cradle. Time passes without urgency. Nothing needs to happen. The tree supports the sleeping panda. The forest continues its slow rhythms, and the afternoon stretches peacefully onward. Chapter 6. We've explored how pandas sleep in trees and on the ground, always finding rest wherever they pause. Now winter approaches in the mountain forests. Snow begins to fall. Temperatures drop. The wind carries a chill through the bamboo groves. Other bears retreat to their dens, settling into months of deep sleep. But the panda stirs, yawns, and reaches for another bamboo stalk. Winter doesn't change the basic pattern of panda life. The same rhythm continues: eat bamboo, sleep, eat more bamboo, sleep again. The cold weather requires some adjustments, but nothing drastic. The panda doesn't prepare for a long sleep. It doesn't search for a cave where it might hide away until spring. Instead, it simply continues moving through the forest, following the bamboo. Think about how you prepare for winter. You probably pull out heavier coats from storage. You adjust the thermostat in your home. You change your daily routines to accommodate shorter days and colder temperatures. Pandas make their own adjustments, but they happen so gradually that the transition feels seamless. The most significant change involves altitude. During summer months, pandas roam through higher elevations, sometimes climbing to areas nearly 11,000 feet above sea level. Up there, the air stays cooler even during warm weather. The bamboo grows thick in certain pockets. Water flows cold and clear from mountain springs. For a panda seeking relief from summer heat, these high slopes provide ideal conditions. But when autumn arrives and the first frosts touch the mountain peaks, the panda begins a slow descent. Not all at once, not in a single determined march down the slopes, just a gradual drift toward lower ground. Following the bamboo's seasonal patterns, the panda moves perhaps a few hundred feet lower one week, then a bit more the next. By the time winter fully settles in, the panda has relocated to elevations around 4,000 to 5,000 feet. This lower altitude makes a subtle but important difference. The temperature remains several degrees warmer. Snow falls less frequently and melts faster when it does accumulate. The wind feels less harsh. Bamboo stays more accessible beneath lighter snow cover. These small advantages help the panda maintain its regular eating schedule without expending excessive energy fighting through deep snow. The panda's thick fur becomes more valuable during winter months. Each hair contains a hollow core filled with air. These tiny air pockets create insulation layers across the panda's entire body. The black patches absorb what little warmth the winter sun provides. The white sections blend with snow when it covers the ground, but mostly the fur just keeps the panda comfortable. Imagine wearing a down jacket filled with the finest insulation. That warmth surrounds you constantly, requiring no effort to maintain. The panda experiences something similar. Its fur coat never comes off. It never needs adjusting or replacement. The insulation works automatically, trapping body heat close to the skin while blocking cold air from penetrating through. Pandas sometimes sleep directly on snow. They curl into that familiar ball position, tuck their paws beneath their bodies and close their eyes. The snow beneath them compresses slightly. The fur prevents the cold from reaching their skin. They rest there peacefully for 2 or 3 hours, completely unbothered by temperatures that would send most creatures searching for shelter. The winter diet shifts slightly. During warmer months, pandas prefer tender bamboo shoots that push up through the soil each spring, and these shoots contain more protein and less fiber, making them easier to digest. But shoots don't grow in winter. The ground freezes. New growth stops. So pandas turn their attention to bamboo stems and older stalks. These winter food sources contain more fiber and less nutrition. The panda must eat even more to extract the same amount of energy. But bamboo stalks remain available throughout winter, standing tall above the snow. The panda can always find something to eat. That availability matters more than optimal nutrition. Some days, the panda encounters fresh snowfall coating the bamboo forest. The white flakes settle on black and white fur, creating additional camouflage. The panda brushes snow from bamboo stalks with its paws. It strips away the cold outer layer to reach the slightly warmer interior. The chewing continues steadily. The cold doesn't interrupt the meal. Between eating sessions, the panda seeks whatever shelter the forest provides. A large tree trunk blocks the wind. A rocky overhang creates a dry spot beneath. A dense bamboo thicket offers protection from falling snow. The panda doesn't need elaborate shelter, just something that reduces exposure to the harshest elements. Sleep becomes even more important during winter. The cold requires the panda to burn slightly more calories, just maintaining body temperature. But moving through snow demands extra effort, so the panda conserves energy by sleeping longer intervals. Those 2 to 4 hour naps might stretch to 5 or 6 hours on particularly cold days. The panda wakes, eats, then returns to sleep. The cycle slows but never stops completely. Other animals in the forest have vanished into hibernation. Caves hold sleeping bears who won't wake for months. Dens shelter creatures that will emerge only when spring arrives. But the panda remains present, a quiet constant throughout the frozen months. Its dark patches stand out against white snow. Its steady breathing creates small clouds in the cold air. It continues existing in the winter landscape as naturally as it exists during any other season. The panda's refusal to hibernate connects directly to its bamboo diet. Hibernating animals prepare by eating extensively during autumn, building thick layers of body fat. They convert that stored fat into energy during the long sleep period. But bamboo doesn't provide enough concentrated nutrition for pandas to build substantial fat reserves. Even eating for 12 or 14 hours daily, the panda barely maintains its weight. There's no surplus to store for winter, so the panda cannot afford months without eating. It must continue consuming bamboo every single day. This requirement keeps it active through winter. The thick fur allows this active lifestyle to continue despite cold temperatures. The seasonal altitude changes help the panda access bamboo more easily. Everything works together to support continuous eating and sleeping throughout the year. Some winter days offer unexpected pleasures. The sun emerges after a storm, painting the snowy forest in bright light. The temperature rises just enough to feel comfortable rather than cold. The panda finds a sunny spot where the snow has melted away, revealing bare ground. It settles there, stretches out fully, and lets the warmth soak into its fur. The moment feels luxurious after days of cold. Or perhaps the panda discovers a bamboo patch where snow has blown away, leaving stalks easily accessible. The eating happens without the need to brush away snow first. The simplified task creates a small pleasure. The panda chews contentedly, almost seeming to appreciate the easier conditions. These small moments of comfort punctuate the winter weeks. They don't change the basic routine. The panda continues eating and sleeping regardless of weather. But when conditions align to make things slightly easier or more pleasant, the panda appears to notice. It lingers in sunny spots. It returns to bamboo patches where snow clears quickly. It finds whatever small comforts winter provides. The season passes slowly. Snow accumulates, then melts, then accumulates again. Weeks blur into months. The panda's daily routine remains unchanged. Wake, eat, sleep, wake, eat, sleep. The forest cycles through its winter rhythms. Ice forms on streams, then partially thaws during brief warm spells. Bare branches collect snow, then release it in soft cascades when wind shakes the trees. Through it all, the panda continues, not struggling, not suffering, just existing steadily through the cold months. Its thick fur maintains comfort. Its constant eating provides necessary energy. Its frequent sleep conserves that energy between meals. The system works reliably day after day, week after week. Eventually, subtle signs suggest winter's end approaching. Days grow imperceptibly longer. The angle of sunlight shifts slightly. Snow melts faster in sunny patches. The panda notices none of this consciously, but gradually, instinctively, it begins moving back up the mountain slopes, not rushing, just slowly following internal guidance toward higher elevations where spring will bring fresh bamboo shoots. The transition happens as gently as the original descent. The panda eats its way back up the mountain, one bamboo patch at a time. Winter releases its grip. The panda's winter routine dissolves naturally into a slightly different spring routine. But the changes feel minimal. Eating continues, sleeping continues. The panda moves peacefully through another seasonal transition, unbothered by the passage of time. Chapter 7. We've followed the panda through winter's cold descent into lower elevations. Now we pause to observe something quieter, something that happens without the panda's conscious effort. The forest in late afternoon holds a particular stillness. Long shadows stretch across snow-covered ground. A panda sits motionless beside a cluster of dark tree trunks, eating bamboo with its usual slow rhythm. From 50 feet away, the panda nearly disappears, not completely, but its outline softens, blurs at the edges, becomes less immediately recognizable as an animal. The black patches along its shoulders match the deep shadows beneath nearby trees. The white fur along its back catches the same pale light that reflects off snow. The panda's distinctive colors, so obvious in photographs and zoo enclosures, somehow allow it to fade into the forest's natural patterns. Think about looking at clouds on a lazy afternoon. Sometimes they resemble animals or faces. Other times they're just clouds, formless and drifting. The shapes emerge or vanish depending on your focus and the light's angle. A panda in its natural habitat creates a similar effect. Your eyes might pass over it initially, registering only forest elements, tree trunks, shadows, snow patches, bamboo. Then suddenly the panda's form resolves and you wonder how you missed seeing it before. This unintentional camouflage happens because the panda's coloring matches its surroundings in unexpected ways. The white portions, the face, neck, belly, and back, share the same brightness as fresh snow. When winter covers the ground, these white sections blend seamlessly with the landscape. But even in summer, the white fur matches something else. Bamboo leaves reflect sunlight with particular brightness. Small gaps in the forest canopy let bright light through, creating patches of illumination. The panda's white fur mirrors these bright spots, allowing the animal to disappear into light rather than darkness. The black portions serve their own purpose. Dense mountain forests create deep shadows beneath trees and among bamboo groves. In these shaded areas, the panda's black legs, shoulders, and ears merge with the darkness. Tree trunks covered in dark bark provide additional matching surfaces. Rocky outcrops in shadow appear nearly black. The panda moves through these dark spaces and its black patches simply become part of the surrounding dimness. Between the stark black and white, the panda's fur occasionally shows subtle brown tones. Mud and dirt accumulate on the coat. These mid-tones create a bridge between the extreme colors, matching the browns of bare ground and weathered rocks. Nothing about the panda seems designed for camouflage at first glance. Yet somehow these colors work together, allowing the animal to blend into a surprising variety of backgrounds. The effect strengthens with distance. Close up, a panda remains obviously a panda: round body, distinctive face, those characteristic black eye patches. But as the viewing distance increases, something changes. At 20 yards, the panda becomes less distinct. At 50 yards, it might be mistaken for a pattern of shadows and light among the trees. At 100 yards or more, even someone searching deliberately might overlook it entirely. This happens because the sharp boundaries between black and white patches break up the panda's outline. Your eyes expect animals to have smooth, continuous edges. The panda's coloring creates false edges instead. The boundary between a black shoulder and white body looks like the edge between shadow and sunlight. The division between white back and black legs resembles the transition from snow to dark ground. These false edges confuse visual recognition, making it harder to identify the panda's actual shape. On overcast days, when clouds filter the sunlight into soft, even illumination, the camouflage works differently. The panda's contrasting patches stand out more clearly without dramatic shadows to match. But even then, the overall pattern helps. The black and white create what researchers call disruptive coloration. The patches don't match any single background element perfectly. Instead, they match multiple different elements. A bit of shadow here, a patch of snow there, a tree trunk beside a bright clearing. The panda's outline fragments across these various backgrounds. The panda itself remains unaware of these visual effects. It doesn't hide deliberately or position itself for maximum camouflage. It simply exists in the forest, eating and sleeping according to its usual patterns. The camouflage happens automatically, a side effect of fur coloring that serves other purposes. The thick coat keeps the panda warm. The dark patches may help communicate with other pandas during rare encounters. The white sections might aid in temperature regulation, but all these features also happen to make the panda harder to see. An old panda rests against a massive tree trunk. Its black back leans into the bark's darkness. Its white face catches dappled sunlight filtering through branches overhead. From the proper angle, at the proper distance, the panda becomes part of the tree itself, not invisible, but incorporated into the forest's visual complexity. The scene holds perfect stillness. No breeze moves the bamboo. The panda breathes slowly, eyes half closed. Time seems suspended in the quiet afternoon light. This stillness enhances the camouflage effect. Movement attracts attention. A panda walking through the forest, shifting position, reaching for bamboo. These actions break the camouflage's spell, but a resting panda, motionless and peaceful, blends more completely. The forest contains many still objects. Trees don't move, rocks remain fixed. Snow lies undisturbed for hours. A sleeping panda joins this community of stationary things, becoming just another calm presence in a calm landscape. The light changes constantly through the day. Morning sun creates long horizontal shadows. Midday light falls more directly, reducing shadow depth. Afternoon sun angles lower again, painting everything in warmer tones. The panda's camouflage adapts to these changing conditions without adjustment. Sometimes the white patches work better. Other times the black sections provide superior concealment. The combination covers most situations the forest presents. Snow adds another layer of concealment. Fresh snow transforms the forest into a predominantly white landscape. The panda's white portions expand visually, dominating its appearance. Its black patches seem smaller, less prominent, easily mistaken for dark branches or shadows on snow. A panda sitting in fresh snowfall, with flakes settling on its fur, becomes remarkably difficult to distinguish from its surroundings. The soft lines of accumulated snow mirror the soft curves of the panda's body. Rain creates yet another environment. Wet fur darkens slightly, reducing the contrast between black and white sections. The forest itself grows darker under rain clouds. Everything takes on muted tones. The panda continues its routine, seemingly unbothered by the weather. Water drips from bamboo leaves. The steady sound of rain fills the forest. The panda chews methodically, occasionally shaking water from its fur, mostly just accepting the wetness as part of the day. In this rain-darkened forest, the panda becomes even less visible. The softened contrast between its fur colors makes the overall form harder to resolve. The rain itself creates visual noise, countless falling drops that distract the eye. The panda sits peacefully in this grey, wet world, eating bamboo that bends under the weight of accumulated water. The scene feels timeless, ancient, like something that has happened in this forest for thousands of years. Sometimes the panda sleeps in positions that maximize its camouflage. Curled against a dark rock, it presents mostly its white back to the world, just another pale stone in a field of similar shapes. Stretched along a fallen log, its black and white patches align with the log's pattern of bark and exposed wood. These positions happen by chance, chosen for comfort or shelter rather than concealment. Yet they work nonetheless. The forest evening brings new lighting. The sun drops behind mountain peaks. Long shadows stretch and deepen. Everything takes on the soft blue tones of twilight. The panda prepares for another night's rest. It settles into a comfortable spot, perhaps beneath an overhanging rock or in a sheltered grove. The distinctive black and white pattern fades as darkness gathers. Color becomes less relevant. The panda becomes simply a darker shape among many dark shapes, finally invisible as night completes its arrival. Throughout all these changes, snow to rain, sunlight to shadow, dawn to dusk, the panda continues its simple existence. It doesn't adjust its behavior for camouflage. It doesn't seek specific backgrounds that match its coloring. The camouflage simply exists as a quiet benefit, allowing the panda to move through its world with less notice from any eyes that might watch. The forest accepts the panda as part of itself, another natural element in a landscape of many elements, all existing together in slow, peaceful rhythm. Chapter 8. A quiet den beneath an old tree holds two pandas. The mother sits perfectly still, curved around something impossibly small. Her massive paw cradles a newborn cub barely larger than her own thumb. The cub makes soft sounds, tiny squeaks that drift through the dim space. The mother responds by shifting slightly, adjusting her position to keep the cub warm against her fur. Outside the den, autumn rain falls gently. Inside, time moves differently. Hours blur together in a rhythm of sleep and feeding. The mother hasn't left this small space for days. She hasn't eaten, hasn't stepped outside to drink from the nearby stream. Her entire world has narrowed to this one tiny life pressed against her chest. We can barely imagine such complete focus. Think about holding something precious and fragile, perhaps a delicate object you worried might break, or a moment you wanted to preserve forever. That feeling of careful attention, of being fully present with something that needs your protection. The mother panda exists in that state continuously, day after day, week after week. The cub cannot see yet. Its eyes remain closed, sealed shut for the first several weeks of life. It cannot hear properly. The world reaches it only through touch and warmth. The mother's fur provides both. When the cub shifts, makes those tiny sounds, the mother responds immediately. She adjusts her arm, lowers her head to breathe warm air over the cub's pink skin, licks it gently, carefully, helping its small body function properly. Rain continues outside. The sound creates a soft backdrop, steady and unhurried. Inside the den, the mother's breathing stays slow and even. The cub nestles deeper into her fur. These quiet hours stack one upon another, building the foundation of the cub's life through pure, patient presence. Sometimes the cub needs to nurse. The mother shifts into a sitting position, propping herself against the den wall. She holds the cub with both paws, supporting its tiny weight as it feeds. The process takes time. The mother stays perfectly still, allowing the cub to drink. When it finishes, she cradles it again, returning to that protective curve that shields it from the world. Days pass this way. The mother occasionally places the cub on the den floor, testing whether it can tolerate brief separation. The cub immediately makes distressed sounds. The mother picks it up again within seconds, tucking it back into the safety of her arms. Not yet. The cub isn't ready for even small distances, more days. The cub's pink skin begins showing dark patches where black fur will grow, first around the ears, then around the eyes. The mother continues her constant care, unaware of these changes, focused only on keeping her cub warm, fed, safe. The den remains their entire universe, small, dim, quiet. Eventually, hunger draws the mother to the den entrance. She peers out at the forest. Everything looks peaceful. The rain has stopped. Bamboo grows thick nearby. She places the cub on a soft pile of dried leaves in the den's deep steps toward the opening. The cub squeaks. She freezes, turns back, checks that it's secure. Steps toward the opening again. Another squeak. She returns once more, licks the cub reassuringly. Finally, she slips outside. The feeding happens quickly. She strips several bamboo stalks in rapid succession, chewing faster than usual. Her head turns repeatedly toward the den. Every sound makes her pause. After perhaps 10 minutes, she abandons the bamboo and hurries back inside. The cub's squeaks grow urgent. She scoops it up immediately, settles back into position, holding it close. The brief separation ends. Everything returns to quiet stillness. This pattern gradually extends. The mother ventures out more frequently, stays slightly longer each time. The cub begins tolerating these absences, learning that the mother always returns. Weeks pass. The cub's black and white markings fill in completely. Its eyes open, revealing small, dark pupils that can't yet focus properly. But sight comes, and with it, the first real awareness of the massive, gentle presence that fills its world. The mother's care continues unchanged. She still holds the cub for most of each day, still responds to every sound it makes, still leaves only briefly to eat. But now the cub can watch her movements, can follow her shape with its eyes. The bond deepens through this new connection. 3 months after birth, the cub begins exploring. Not the outside world, just the den itself. Small, wobbly steps across the floor. The mother watches closely, ready to intervene if the cub stumbles. It investigates the den walls with its nose, paws at loose leaves, falls over and rolls onto its back. The mother waits patiently. When the cub returns to her, she gathers it in, holds it close, as she has done thousands of times before. 4 months. The cub grows stronger, more coordinated. It still nurses regularly, still sleeps pressed against the mother's fur. But waking hours now include play. The cub mouths the mother's paw, paws at her face. She tolerates these explorations with complete patience, occasionally nuzzling the cub gently. No hurry, no frustration, just steady, quiet acceptance of her offspring's needs. 5 months. Spring arrives outside the den. Fresh bamboo shoots push up through the soil. The mother begins taking the cub outside for brief periods. She moves slowly, checking constantly that the cub follows. The cub sees sunlight for the first time, blinks at the brightness, stumbles on the uneven ground. The mother stops, waits, lets the cub catch up. They don't go far, perhaps 20 feet from the den entrance, but it's a beginning. 6 months. The cub attempts its first bamboo shoots, watches the mother eating, mimics her movements, can't quite figure out the proper technique. Ends up mostly playing with the bamboo rather than eating it. The mother doesn't instruct or demonstrate. She simply continues eating nearby, allowing the cub to learn through observation and experimentation. More months drift past. Summer heat settles over the forest. The mother and cub rest through the hottest afternoons, often in the shade of their familiar den or beneath large trees. The cub still nurses, though less frequently now. Solid food becomes increasingly important. The cub's teeth grow strong enough to tear bamboo properly. Its coordination improves. It begins following the mother on longer foraging trips. 8 months, 9, 10. The cub grows larger, heavier, more confident. It still seeks the mother's presence regularly, sleeps beside her, follows her through the forest. But periods of independence lengthen. The cub explores on its own for an hour, then returns to where the mother sits eating. The separation no longer causes distress. A year passes. The cub now weighs 60 or 70 pounds, no longer tiny, but still smaller than its mother. They continue moving through the forest together. The cub's fur matches the mother's distinctive pattern. Watching them from a distance, you might struggle to determine which is which, especially when they rest side by side, 2 black and white forms sleeping peacefully in dappled shade. 15 months. The mother's body prepares for another breeding season. Her tolerance for the cub's presence begins changing. She moves away when it approaches, creates distance where there was none before. The cub doesn't understand these shifts. It follows, confused by the mother's withdrawal. She continues creating space, gently but firmly establishing separation. 18 months. The bond that defined the cub's entire existence begins loosening. The mother no longer allows the cub to follow closely. When it tries to nurse, she moves away. The cub must learn to exist independently now, must find its own feeding areas, sleep alone. navigate the forest using skills absorbed through months of observation. The separation feels gradual, gentle, no drama, no sudden abandonment, just a slow, steady increase in distance until one day the cub realizes the mother has gone. It stands alone in the forest, fully grown, capable, ready. Everything the mother taught happened without words, just presence, patience, constant care during those vulnerable months when the cub needed everything. Somewhere in the forest, the mother continues her solitary routine. Eating bamboo, sleeping, moving through familiar territories. The months of intensive care leave no visible mark on her. She returns to her simple existence as though the cub never existed. But somewhere else in the same forest, a young panda moves confidently through bamboo groves, knows how to find good feeding spots, understands when to rest and when to forage. The mother's patient teaching lives on in these capabilities, transferred through quiet example during countless peaceful hours together. Chapter 9. A panda moves slowly through morning mist. The forest around it holds perfect stillness. Dew clings to bamboo leaves. The panda pauses beside a large tree trunk, lifts its tail, backs against the rough bark, leaves a small marking, continues walking. This simple act happens countless times throughout each day. The panda passes another tree, stops, marks it, moves on. No urgency, no particular pattern visible to us. Just this quiet, repeated gesture, as natural as breathing. The markings themselves carry no visible sign, no color appears on the bark, no obvious change occurs to the tree's surface. Yet something invisible now exists there, a message left for any panda who might pass this way later, today, tomorrow, next week. The message waits patiently. Imagine leaving notes for someone you've never met, small pieces of information about yourself placed where they might someday walk. You don't know when they'll find these notes, you don't know if they'll find them at all, but you leave them anyway, trusting the forest to preserve your quiet words. The panda continues its morning routine, eating bamboo, resting, walking slowly between bamboo patches, occasionally stopping at certain trees, always the same trees it has marked before, trees that other pandas have also marked over time. These become meeting places without meetings, locations where invisible messages accumulate and overlap. Hours pass, the sun climbs higher through the canopy. The panda sleeps for a while beneath a favorite tree, wakes, eats more bamboo. The afternoon drifts by in its usual gentle rhythm. Then evening approaches, the light begins its slow fade toward dusk. The panda stirs, begins moving through the forest with slightly more purpose than before. It approaches a particularly large tree. The bark shows worn patches where countless pandas have rubbed against it over the years. The panda sniffs carefully at the trunk, pauses, sniffs again, processes information we cannot perceive. Another panda passed this way recently, perhaps yesterday, perhaps this morning. The scent lingers, telling its quiet story. The panda adds its own marking to the collection, then continues walking. No excitement, no visible reaction to encountering another panda's message. Just acknowledgement, awareness, the knowledge that others exist somewhere in these forests, living their own solitary lives, occasionally intersecting through these invisible threads of communication. Night settles over the forest. The panda finds a comfortable sleeping spot, curls into its familiar ball shape. The markings it left today remain on various trees throughout its territory. Waiting, slowly fading as hours pass, but still present enough to be detected by the right nose at the right time. Days follow this pattern. The panda wakes, eats, marks certain trees, rests, marks more trees, sleeps. The routine feels timeless, each day much like the one before. The markings accumulate, fade, get refreshed, fade again. The cycle continues without end. Sometimes the panda marks trees near trails it frequently uses, other times it marks trees in more remote locations. The choices seem almost random to human eyes, but patterns exist. Certain tree species get marked more often. Larger trees, trees with rough bark that holds scent longer. Trees positioned where air currents might carry the scent further. The panda doesn't think about these choices consciously. It simply follows instinct. Marks where something wordless inside suggests marking. The accumulated knowledge of countless generations guides its movements. These trees work well. These locations serve the purpose. The marking continues. Weeks pass. Seasons shift. The panda continues its quiet routine. The trees it marks become like signposts in a language only pandas understand. Here, I was here. I am female. I am healthy. I move through this area regularly. Simple messages, basic information, but sufficient for pandas who rarely meet face to face. Winter arrives. The panda's marking behavior continues unchanged. Snow covers the ground. The marked trees stand dark against white landscape. The scents remain detectable despite the cold. The invisible communication network persists through changing seasons. Sometimes another panda comes near, approaches the same marked tree from a different direction, sniffs carefully, processes the accumulated messages, adds its own, moves away. The two pandas never see each other, never hear each other. But communication happens nonetheless. Information exchanges. Territories overlap peacefully through this system of shared marking sites. Spring brings warmer air. The marking frequency increases slightly. Messages take on new urgency during this season, but the basic pattern remains the same. Approach tree, stop, mark, continue. The rhythm stays calm, unhurried, just slightly more frequent than other times of year. The panda passes the same trees day after day. Some get marked daily, others less frequently. The routine creates a map of invisible information spreading through the forest. Any panda traveling through this area can read the map, can know who else moves through these territories, can avoid direct encounters while remaining generally aware of neighbors. One afternoon, the panda rests near a particularly well-marked tree, sits quietly, chews bamboo slowly. The tree's bark holds layers of scent from multiple pandas accumulated over months. The panda occasionally lifts its head, sniffs the air, processes the information carried on gentle breezes, then returns to eating. No concern, no worry, just peaceful coexistence maintained through these quiet chemical messages. Evening comes again. The panda marks a few more trees before settling for the night. The forest grows dark, quiet. The marked trees stand throughout the territory, bearing their invisible messages, some messages fresh, others fading, all part of the continuous conversation that happens without words, without meetings, without drama. This pattern extends across the panda's entire life. Years pass, marked by this same gentle routine. The trees remain constant. The behavior stays unchanged. Each day adds new messages to old ones. The forest holds these quiet communications, allowing pandas their solitary existence while maintaining just enough connection to find each other when breeding season makes meetings necessary. The panda sleeps. The marked trees stand silent through the night. Tomorrow will bring the same routine. More walking, more bamboo, more quiet marking of familiar trees. The pattern continues, as it has for countless generations, as it will for countless more. Simple, effective, peaceful. The invisible language of pandas drifting through mountain forests, connecting solitary lives through the gentlest possible touch. Chapter 10. A panda sits beneath afternoon shade. A human approaches through the bamboo. The panda notices, lowers its head slightly, turns its face away. The movement happens without alarm, just a quiet withdrawal. The human stops walking. The panda remains still, waiting. Eventually the human leaves. The panda lifts its head again, returns to eating bamboo. The brief encounter ends peacefully. This scene repeats throughout panda territories where humans and pandas share space. Most encounters follow this same pattern. The panda avoids. The human respects the distance. Nothing happens. No confrontation. No fear on either side. Just mutual acknowledgement and separation. We've watched pandas move through their solitary existence, sleeping peacefully, eating slowly, marking trees without urgency. Throughout all these behaviors, one quality remains constant, a gentleness that seems woven into their very nature. Pandas don't seek conflict, don't display aggression casually, don't waste energy on unnecessary confrontation. Think about animals you've encountered that seemed naturally calm. Perhaps a grazing deer that watched you quietly before walking away. Or a turtle that retreated into its shell rather than snapping. Pandas possess this same preference for peaceful resolution. Their first response to anything unexpected is withdrawal, not attack. The panda continues eating. Another panda passes nearby, following a different trail through the bamboo. The two don't acknowledge each other directly, just maintain their distance. No territorial display, no aggressive posturing. The second panda moves on, the first continues eating. The forest absorbs them both back into its quiet routine. This docile nature extends through most of panda life. When pandas do meet during non-breeding times, the encounters stay brief and calm. They might sniff the air, assess each other from a distance, then separate. No need for dominance displays, no reason to fight over territories that overlap peacefully through scent marking systems. Days pass in this gentle rhythm. The panda encounters various situations. A tree falls nearby during a storm. The panda moves calmly to another area. A strange sound echoes through the forest. The panda pauses, listens, then returns to eating. Nothing provokes panic. Nothing triggers aggression. The panda accepts its environment with steady composure. But something changes when cubs enter the picture. A mother panda with a young cub represents the only time this gentle nature shifts. The cub stays close to its mother, still learning to navigate the forest. Another animal approaches, perhaps curious, perhaps accidentally wandering too near. The mother's entire demeanor transforms. She stands, places herself between the cub and the approaching animal. Her posture shifts from relaxed to alert. If the animal doesn't retreat, she makes a sound, low, warning, her message clear without violence. The animal understands, moves away. The mother waits until it disappears, then settles back down. The cub, oblivious to the brief tension, continues playing nearby. This protective instinct exists solely for cubs. A mother panda who would normally avoid confrontation, becomes formidable when her offspring faces potential threat. Not aggressive by nature, not seeking conflict, but absolutely unwilling to let anything harm her cub. This represents the only consistent situation where pandas abandon their usual gentleness. The cub grows, weeks become months. The mother's vigilance continues. She stays alert to sounds that might indicate danger, positions herself strategically when resting to keep the cub visible, responds immediately to its calls. This heightened awareness exists only during the months she raises her young. Once the cub reaches independence, her temperament returns to its usual calm state. The forest holds this duality. Pandas moving peacefully through their territories, mothers watching over cubs with fierce attention. Both states reflecting the same underlying principle. Pandas act according to necessity. Gentleness serves them well most of the time. Protection becomes necessary for a brief period. Both responses fit the same patient, measured approach to existence. A year passes. The now independent young panda moves through the forest alone. It inherits its mother's temperament, calm, unbothered by most disturbances, willing to retreat rather than fight. This pattern continues generation after generation. Young pandas learning through observation that conflict rarely serves any purpose. The panda's gentleness extends even to its physical capabilities. Despite possessing strong jaws and sharp claws, despite weighing over 200 pounds, pandas rarely use these attributes aggressively. The tools exist for defense if absolutely necessary, but they remain unused most days, most weeks, most years. The panda's strength stays dormant beneath its peaceful exterior. Evening settles over the forest. The panda finds its sleeping spot, curls up in the familiar position. The day ends as it began, quietly, gently, without incident. Tomorrow will bring the same pattern, more bamboo, more rest, more peaceful hours flowing one into the next. This gentleness isn't weakness, it's simply the most efficient way for pandas to exist. Conflict costs energy, peace conserves it. The choice remains obvious. In the darkness, the panda's breathing stays slow and even, its sleep undisturbed by anxiety or aggression. The gentle temperament that guided it through today will guide it through tomorrow, and all the days beyond. This quality, this fundamental peacefulness, allows pandas to share their forests with minimal friction, to coexist with other animals without constant territorial battles, to move through their lives with a calmness that seems almost intentional. The night deepens. Stars appear through gaps in the canopy. The panda continues sleeping, its gentle nature evident even in rest. The forest holds this sleeping bear along with countless other sleeping creatures, each following its own path. The panda's path simply happens to be the quietest, the calmest, the one that disturbs the world around it least. Morning will come, the pattern will repeat. The panda will wake, eat, rest, and sleep again. All accomplished with the same gentle patience that defines every panda in every forest. This temperament, rarely aggressive, consistently peaceful, fiercely protective only when absolutely necessary, represents perhaps the panda's most enduring characteristic. More constant than their distinctive coloring, more reliable than their solitary habits. Just this steady, quiet gentleness flowing through generation after generation without end. Chapter 11. Morning light filters through bamboo. A panda sits perfectly still, its eyes half closed, breathing slow and steady. Minutes pass. The panda doesn't move, just sits, exists. The forest around it wakes gradually. Birds call softly. Dew drips from leaves. The panda remains motionless. Eventually it reaches for nearby bamboo. The movement happens slowly. One paw extends, grasps a stalk, pulls it close. The chewing begins, methodical, unhurried. Each bite takes its time. The panda processes this simple action with complete patience. We've followed pandas through their days and nights, watched them sleep in various positions, seen them eat for hours, observed their quiet scent marking, their gentle maternal care, their peaceful solitude. Everything connects to one underlying truth. Pandas conserve energy in ways few other animals match. Think about your own energy throughout a day. You wake feeling rested. Activity increases your alertness. By evening, you feel tired again. Your energy rises and falls in predictable waves. Pandas experience something different. Their energy stays constantly low, never spiking, never rushing. Just this steady, minimal expenditure from dawn to dusk. The panda finishes one bamboo stalk, reaches for another. The motion contains no wasted movement, direct, economic. Every gesture serves its purpose and nothing more. This efficiency appears in everything pandas do. After eating for perhaps 2 hours, the panda stops, doesn't move to a new location, simply leans back against the same tree it sat beside while eating, closes its eyes. Sleep arrives within minutes. The transition from eating to sleeping happens without ceremony. One state ends, another begins. The panda's body accepts both equally. Hours drift past. The sun climbs higher. Warmth spreads through the forest. The panda continues sleeping. Its breathing stays slow, its body completely relaxed. Nothing disturbs this rest. No urgency exists anywhere in the panda's being. Eventually, the panda wakes, doesn't stretch or yawn dramatically, just opens its eyes, sits quietly for a moment, then reaches for more bamboo. The cycle begins again. Eat, sleep, eat, sleep. This pattern fills most of the panda's life. Simple, effective, requiring almost nothing beyond bamboo and time. Other animals move through forests with purpose, searching, hunting, traveling significant distances. The panda stays in small areas, moves minimally, finds everything it needs within a limited range. This reduced movement saves tremendous energy over time. No rushing, no running, just slow, deliberate steps from one bamboo patch to another. The afternoon passes in this same gentle rhythm. The panda alternates between eating and resting. Occasionally, it shifts position, moves a few feet to reach fresh bamboo. These small adjustments represent the extent of its activity. No play, no exploration beyond what feeding requires. Just this calm, continuous cycle. Evening approaches, the light begins its slow fade. The panda settles into a comfortable sleeping spot. Perhaps the same spot as last night. Perhaps a different one nearby. The choice seems to matter little. Anywhere works. The panda curls into its familiar ball shape, tucks its paws beneath its body, closes its eyes. Night arrives gradually. The panda sleeps through the transition. Its breathing continues its slow, steady rhythm. Darkness fills the forest. The panda wakes briefly, eats some bamboo in the darkness, returns to sleep. This might happen once, perhaps twice during the night. Small interruptions in the larger pattern of rest. By dawn, the panda wakes again to begin another day identical to yesterday and the day before. and countless days stretching backward through time. This lifestyle, this extreme conservation of energy, allows pandas to survive on bamboo alone. Any other approach would fail. More activity would require more fuel. Bamboo cannot provide more fuel, so pandas adapted by needing less, by moving slowly, by sleeping often, by reducing every unnecessary action to its absolute minimum. The forest holds many animals, each following its own pattern. Some hunt, some gather, some build. The panda does none of these. It simply exists within the forest, taking only what it needs, moving only when necessary, resting whenever possible. This approach has sustained pandas for thousands of years, will likely sustain them for thousands more. Morning returns. The cycle continues. The panda wakes, eats, rests, eats again. The pattern needs no variation, no excitement, no change. Just this gentle, eternal rhythm flowing through days that blur together into seasons, seasons into years, years into a lifetime of quiet, peaceful existence among the bamboo. The forest is quiet again. Bamboo stalks stand side by side. Light filters through the leaves. A panda sits there, chewing bamboo, slowly, steadily, without sound. This scene existed yesterday, exists today, will exist tomorrow. We began this journey to understand the panda's mysterious solitude. Now we're here, at the end. But nothing has really ended. The panda is still there, still eating bamboo, still sleeping, still passing by the same trees. Life continues, unchanged. Think for a moment. We spend all these hours together, watched pandas, watched them eat, watched them sleep, watched them climb trees, watched them pass through winter. What did we really see? A complex system? An exciting drama? No. We saw something simpler, something that doesn't need complexity. We saw an animal that figured out how to exist with the minimum required. No extra movements, no unnecessary social bonds, no elaborate daily routines, just bamboo, sleep, silence. This pattern repeating endlessly through the forests of central China. The panda we watched this morning is sleeping now, curled against a tree trunk. Its breathing slow and even. In a few hours it will wake, reach for bamboo, eat for a while, sleep again. Tomorrow will bring the same pattern. Next week, next month, next year. The rhythm never breaks. We might call this boring. We might think the panda's life lacks meaning or purpose. But perhaps we're wrong. Perhaps meaning doesn't require complexity. Perhaps purpose exists in simply being, simply breathing, simply continuing. The afternoon stretches peacefully. Another panda somewhere else in the forest also sleeps, and another, each one alone, each one following the same basic pattern, eating, sleeping, existing. They don't know about each other in this moment, don't need to. Their lives run parallel, separate, but somehow connected through the forest itself. Evening will come, the light will fade, the pandas will settle into their sleeping spots, some on the ground, some in trees, some curled up, some stretched out, all of them peaceful, all of them unbothered by the day's end. Morning will return, the pattern will continue. We watched pandas communicate without meeting, scent marks on trees, messages left for pandas they'll never see. This felt strange at first. How can animals live this way? How can they survive without social connection? But now, after following them through their days, it makes sense. They don't need more. This is enough. The trees hold their invisible messages. The pandas add to them occasionally. The system works, has worked for thousands of years, will work for thousands more. Simple, efficient, peaceful. A mother somewhere holds her cub. This moment of connection stands apart from the usual solitude. The cub needs her. She provides everything: warmth, food, protection, patience. The weeks and months of constant care happen without complaint, without frustration, just this steady, gentle presence that asks nothing in return. Eventually that cub will leave, will find its own territory, will begin its own solitary routine. The mother will return to her peaceful existence. The cycle repeats. Generation after generation, each panda learning the same lessons. Eat bamboo, rest often, stay alone, survive. The forest accepts all of this without judgment. Trees grow, bamboo spreads, seasons change. The pandas move through it all with their characteristic slowness, never rushing, never stopping completely, just maintaining that steady, minimal pace that defines their existence. We saw pandas sleep in remarkable positions, on their backs, vulnerable and relaxed, curled in balls against the cold, draped across tree branches high above the ground. Each position served its purpose, each one chosen without overthinking. The panda simply stopped wherever it was and slept. No preparation needed, no special location required. This ability to rest anywhere, anytime, reflects something deeper. The panda carries no anxiety, no worry about tomorrow, no regret about yesterday. It exists completely in the present moment. When tired, it sleeps. When hungry, it eats. Nothing more complex than that. The bamboo obsession that fills half their waking hours seemed excessive at first. How can an animal spend 12 to 16 hours just eating? But we came to understand the bamboo provides minimal nutrition. The panda must consume enormous quantities, so eating becomes the primary occupation, not a choice, a necessity. And the panda accepts this necessity without complaint. No frustration, no desire for variety, just this patient, methodical chewing that continues hour after hour, day after day. The jaw muscles work steadily, the teeth grind fibrous stalks, the digestive system processes what it can, the rest passes through. The cycle never ends. Winter brought changes but not disruption. The panda descended to lower elevations, found bamboo beneath lighter snow, continued its routine with only minor adjustments. The thick fur kept it warm. The constant eating provided necessary energy. The frequent sleeping conserved that energy. The system remained balanced even in harsh conditions. We watched pandas blend into their environment through accidental camouflage, black patches matching shadows, white sections mirroring snow and sunlight. The panda's distinctive coloring somehow allowed it to disappear into the forest's visual complexity, not trying to hide, just existing in a way that happened to make it less visible. This unintentional concealment reminded us that pandas don't try to be anything, they simply are. Their coloring exists, their behavior exists. The result, survival, peace, continuation, happens naturally without effort or planning. The gentle temperament we observed stood out precisely because it seemed so unusual. An animal this large should defend territory aggressively, should compete with others, should display dominance. The panda does none of this. It avoids conflict, withdraws from confrontation, chooses peace over violence almost without exception. Only mothers protecting cubs showed different behavior. That fierce protective instinct revealed what pandas are capable of when truly necessary. But even then, the aggression served clear purpose. Protect the vulnerable. Nothing more. Once the threat passed, the gentleness returned immediately. The energy conservation strategy explained so much. Every slow movement, every long rest period, every choice to stay still rather than explore. The panda operates on such minimal fuel that any unnecessary activity becomes wasteful. So it eliminated unnecessary activity, kept only what survival required, nothing extra. This efficiency feels almost intentional, like the panda consciously decided to simplify its existence to the absolute minimum. But of course, no decision happened, just thousands of years of adaptation, of bamboo providing exactly this amount of energy, of pandas that moved less, surviving better, of natural selection favoring stillness over activity. The result is what we see today, an animal that perfected the art of doing less, of being satisfied with simplicity, of finding sufficiency in repetition. Night has fallen on the forest now. The panda we started watching this morning sleeps somewhere among the bamboo. Tomorrow it will wake, eat, sleep, eat again. The pattern will continue exactly as before, as it continued yesterday, as it will continue next week. This predictability might seem meaningless to us. We seek variety, change, new experiences, but the panda needs none of this. Its life contains everything it requires: bamboo for food, trees for resting, solitude for peace. The pattern itself provides structure and security. Somewhere in the darkness, another panda stirs, reaches for bamboo, eats briefly, returns to sleep. These small movements happen throughout the night. All across the mountain forests, dozens of pandas, hundreds perhaps, each one alone, each one following its internal rhythm. Together they form a constellation of solitary existences spread through the bamboo groves. The forest breathes around them, trees creak softly in night winds, streams trickle over stones, leaves rustle. The pandas sleep through it all, or eat through it all. Either state feels equally natural, equally peaceful. The distinction barely matters. We asked at the beginning how pandas survive complete solitude, how they endure years without seeing another of their kind. Now we understand they don't endure it. They simply live it. The question assumes loneliness where none exists, assumes a need for connection that pandas don't feel. The panda's experience of solitude differs fundamentally from ours. We would suffer. We need conversation, companionship, social bonds. But the panda needs only bamboo and space. Its nervous system doesn't register loneliness. Its psychology doesn't require others. This isn't strength or weakness, just difference, just another way of being. The scent marking system provides all the connection pandas need. Enough awareness of others to avoid conflict. Enough information to find mates when necessary, but no obligation to interact. No pressure to maintain relationships. The perfect balance for animals that thrive in solitude. Dawn approaches again. The darkness begins its slow fade. The panda will wake soon. Will begin another day, identical to thousands before it. We won't be there to watch, but we can picture it clearly now. The slow movements, the patient chewing, the peaceful rests, all of it flowing in that gentle, unbroken rhythm. What did we learn from watching pandas? Perhaps that simplicity works, that doing less can be enough, that solitude doesn't equal loneliness, that gentle persistence outlasts dramatic intensity, that nature contains infinite ways of surviving, and the panda's way, quiet, patient, minimal, is no less valid than any other. The bamboo will still be there tomorrow. The pandas will still move through the forest. The pattern will continue. Nothing we observed today changes that. Nothing should. The panda's way works, has worked for millennia. needs no improvement, no modification, just continuation. A single panda represents something larger. It shows us that survival doesn't require complexity. That evolution sometimes favors simplification rather than elaboration, that the path to success can be found by reducing, not adding, by slowing down rather than speeding up. The forest accepts this, has always accepted it. The panda fits into its environment so completely that removing it would create a hole, not a dramatic absence, just a quiet gap in the forest's pattern, a missing piece in the gentle rhythm of bamboo and shadow and mountain mist. But pandas remain, continue, persist, not through aggression or competition, through patience, through adaptability, through that remarkable ability to thrive on what would starve most other animals. The bamboo provides just barely enough. The panda learned to live on just barely enough. The balance holds. More hours pass, the sun climbs, the forest warms, the panda eats. Everything continues as it should, as it must, as it always has. The simplicity becomes profound in its completeness. Nothing missing, nothing extra, just exactly what needs to be. We might want more from the panda's story, drama, excitement, challenges overcome. But the panda's story is the absence of drama, the elimination of excitement, the bypassing of challenges through patience rather than force. This quieter story has its own power, its own meaning. The panda teaches without trying to teach, lives without trying to make a point, exists without requiring our understanding or approval. It simply is. This pure being, uncomplicated by self-awareness or social complexity, contains a kind of peace we rarely encounter. Watch the panda long enough and your own breathing slows, your thoughts quiet. The urgency that fills modern life seems suddenly unnecessary. Perhaps we don't need constant stimulation, constant connection, constant change. Perhaps enough is actually enough. The panda never questions its existence, never wonders if there should be more, never feels the restless dissatisfaction that drives us forward. It accepts its life completely. This acceptance isn't resignation. It's something else, something we don't have a good word for. Perfect fit between being and circumstance. Afternoon light slants through the canopy. The panda rests in dappled shade, its eyes half closed, its breathing barely visible. It exists in this moment with no thought of past or future. Just now, just this. The bamboo nearby, the ground beneath, the air moving gently through fur. Nothing more needed. This moment will pass, another will come. Each moment essentially the same, each one complete in itself. The hours stack up into days, days into seasons, seasons into years. The panda moves through time without rushing it, without fighting it, without even really noticing it. We noticed it, measured it, marked its passage, but the panda just lived through it. The difference feels significant. We carry time like a burden. The panda simply exists within it. No weight, no pressure, just continuous present extending in all directions. The forest grows quiet as evening approaches. Birds settle into their roosts. The breeze dies down. Everything eases toward night. The panda finishes eating, finds a comfortable spot, curls into that familiar position. Sleep comes easily, has always come easily, will always come easily. In the darkness, the forest holds countless sleeping creatures, each one following its own pattern. The panda's pattern is among the simplest: eat, sleep, repeat. But simplicity served it well, allowed it to survive when more complex strategies might have failed. The bamboo doesn't reward cleverness, it rewards patience. The panda has infinite patience. Morning will come again, always does. The panda will wake into another day that looks exactly like yesterday. We might pity this lack of variety, but the panda experiences no lack. Each day brings bamboo, rest, the familiar trees, the known territories. These repeated experiences create security, not boredom. The scent marks on trees fade slowly. Get refreshed regularly. The invisible communication network maintains itself through simple repetition. No single message matters much. But the accumulated pattern, dozens of pandas leaving thousands of marks over years, creates a functional system. Information flows. Territories get respected. Breeding happens when necessary. All without meetings, without conflict, without complexity. A young panda somewhere learns these patterns, watches its mother mark trees, learns which trees matter, which scents mean what. The education happens wordlessly, just observation and imitation. By the time independence arrives, the young panda knows everything it needs to know: how to find bamboo, how to rest efficiently, how to exist alone without loneliness. This knowledge passes down through generations, not through teaching, exactly, through living. The mother lives her life, the cub watches, the patterns transfer naturally, no curriculum, no lessons, just presence and time and patient demonstration. The system works because it's simple enough to transfer this way. Complex social structures require complex learning. The panda's solitary life requires only basic knowledge: where bamboo grows, how to mark territory, when to sleep. A cub can learn this in 18 months, then carry it through decades of solitary life. The forest holds this accumulated wisdom, hundreds of years of pandas living similar lives, each generation learning from the previous, each one adding nothing new because nothing new is needed. The pattern works, why change it? Stability has value, consistency provides security. The panda's unchanging routine creates predictability in an unpredictable world. Weather changes, seasons change, individual pandas die and others are born. But the pattern remains. The dance between panda and bamboo continues exactly as before. We watched this dance for hours, saw its subtle variations, the panda choosing tender shoots in spring, turning to tougher stalks in winter. The small adjustments within the larger pattern, flexibility within consistency, change within continuity. The balance allows survival. Night deepens. Stars appear through gaps in the canopy. The panda sleeps on, its day complete. Another will begin soon enough. Until then, just rest. Just the slow rhythm of breathing. The forest quiet around sleeping forms scattered across the mountainside. This is how pandas exist, have always existed, will continue existing as long as bamboo grows and forests stand. The pattern is older than us, will likely outlast us. It requires nothing from us except the space to continue, the forest to remain, the bamboo to grow. Given these basics, pandas will persist in their gentle, solitary way. Our journey ends here. But the panda's journey continues, endless cycles of eating and sleeping, years of peaceful solitude, rare moments of connection during breeding, brief periods of maternal care, then back to solitude, the pattern rolling forward through time without beginning or end. We leave the forest now. The panda remains, still there, still eating bamboo, still sleeping beneath familiar trees. Our presence changed nothing. Our observation altered nothing. The panda's life continued exactly as it would have continued without us. This feels appropriate somehow. The panda needs no witnesses, requires no documentation. It simply lives, simply is, simply continues. The bamboo stalks sway gently in the night breeze. The panda's breathing remains slow and even. The forest holds both in perfect balance. Nothing more needs to happen. Nothing more needs to be said. The story exists in the living, not the telling. And the panda lives on, patient, peaceful, alone, enough